It kind of amazes me that I still have more material to work with for yet another installment of the Recycled Storylines segment that I've been doing on this channel every Earth month since we started. I guess when you have a show that lasted 14 years, you sometimes forget that you've already played that scene, to borrow a phrase. This time, we're going to dive into the two instances where a Cartwright is given a teaching job. I know I have a lot of Adam Gales in my audience, so there might be some of you who don't know that there even was another teaching storyline on the show. No worries, though, because as usual, I will be covering both in full when we get to those points in the series review. That being said, there will be spoilers in this video, so if you'd rather see the episodes before hearing me talk about them, go ahead and watch Right as the Fourth R and Pride of a Man before coming back and finishing this video. In Season 6's Right as the Fourth R, Adam's kind of sweet on the new school teacher, Barbara Scott. When he goes to deliver some books to her at school, he finds her tied to a pole with kids dancing around her. No, I'm not kidding. To her credit, while most teachers might quit after that, she is willing to keep fighting for the chance to mold young minds. That is until Adam invites her out at the ranch and tries to teach her how to ride a horse. The teacher teaching the teacher doesn't go so well, as the first time Adam turns his back, she falls right off and breaks her arm. When the doctor informs her that she can't teach for a while, she guilts Adam into covering for her. Being the bright boy that he is, Adam decides that he can take this opportunity to give the kids even more work to do by introducing an entirely new class. He implements a history course dedicated to the history of the territory and the founding of Virginia City. Since there are some men still alive who were there for these events, he tries to interview all of them. Coincidentally, Barbara's uncle, whom she lives with, happens to be one of the men he talks to. This leads to a scandal where certain people wish to keep the technicalities of how Virginia City came to be to themselves. The teaching job turns into detective work from there. In Season 9's Pride of a Man, Joe is dating the current schoolteacher Abby Pettigrew when she's injured and he's given her job for a while. Miss Abigail Jones might have had a few things to say about that one, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Joe deals with a few practical jokes at his expense and even a student or two with an obvious crush. Poor kid can't go anywhere, can he? His version of going for extra credit with his teaching job comes when a couple of boys misbehave and Joe finds that their father doesn't really think they need school at all. Joe realizes that these boys do have what it takes to learn and might even have an interest in it. This leads him to lock horns with the boy's father, literally. In a move that would never fly today, Joe gets into a fist fight with him in the front yard of the school. So we've got two instances where men who have never taught school in their lives are given the job of taking over for the school teachers they're currently either dating or have warm fuzzies for at the time. Both situations lead to our boys doing things that go above and beyond the call of higher education. Both Cartwrights end up with bruises by the end, and neither gets to keep the girl. That we know of, anyway. In true Bonanza fashion, we never hear any more about them. Both teachers are hurt by a fall off a horse that, I gotta say, looks like they were trying to fall off. They are just probably sick of those kids, you know? To the women's credit, though, they both seem like strong characters, and Abby even challenges Joe a bit when he starts to give up on the McNabb boys, which I really liked. Where the two episodes differ, in Adam's case, Barbara was riding because Adam offered to teach her. In Joe's, Abby asks Joe if she could ride Cooch. The girls have two different injuries after their falls. Barbara has a broken arm and Abby a broken ankle. Both boys deal with separate kinds of problems when they take the job. Adam's is a scandal that goes all the way to murder. Joe's is simply his desire to help a couple of boys who he sees potential in. And not for nothing, but it seems like every girl in Joe's class has a crush. We never get to even watch Adam teach, let alone see how the kids react to him. The only interaction we see between Adam and his students is when they tie Barbara to that pole and Adam gives them a lecture for it. Also, while Barbara is the one to ask Adam to take the job for her, Joe is trying to find another teacher with no luck when Candy decides to volunteer him, and they all kind of gang up on him after that. Normally when I do these kinds of videos, I tell you which one I thought worked better. In the case of these, I think they have just enough differences between them that I can't really do that this time. Both situations work, I think. I like that Joe's problem is with two boys who aren't pushing themselves to reach their full potential educationally because Joe himself is said to have had some difficulty in school. They reference in The Wooing of Abigail Jones that Joe got in trouble a few times and had Ben or Adam called on him. I think this helps him see the boys from a place of compassion while also seeing what might have become of himself if Ben had not pushed him to attend school when he was that age. Also, you might not think of Joe when you think of someone who would take over a teaching job. That makes it all the more pleasant when you see him being really good at it. On the other hand, Adam becoming a school teacher is such an obvious choice that you'd almost expect it to be boring, until it becomes about more than just teaching. You pick out just any one conversation with Adam during his 6 years on the show, and it becomes easy to believe him taking a temporary job he could have coasted through and making up an entirely new course that involves a lot of after-hours study for him as well as the kids. You can also totally see where he and a school teacher would have had a lot in common and where an attraction might have come from. As to the chemistry of the two couples and how I feel about the women themselves, I don't have a problem with either one, but I do lean more towards Adam and Barbara having chemistry than Joe and Abby do. Joe and Abby are fine, but I just believe the other more. Both women are relatively strong, if you don't factor in how easily they slide off horses. Barbara has more of a role in the story after she's injured than Abby does, but that's just because of the nature of the individual story, so that might not be a fair comparison. Joe vents to Abby, but Barbara is actually involved in the scandal because of her uncle, and she stands up to her uncle in Adam's defense. I will say, if it's a happy ending you're looking for, Pride of a Man gives you that way more than Rides of the Fourth R does. At the end of Fourth R, it's rather depressing, really. The truth is uncovered, but nobody seems to be the better for it. Of course, that doesn't mean that it wasn't worth telling. More on that when we talk about the episode as a whole. Pride ends with the boys and their father all having learned something, and thanks to Joe's efforts. So which do I like more? It depends on my mood, really. If I want something that makes me feel good by the end, I'll take Pride. If I want to see some quality suffering Adam syndrome, I'll take Rides of the Fourth R. Also, both of them look really good in front of a classroom. I have no idea how any of these girl students got any work done. So those are my thoughts. This one was a bit short because I didn't want to be too heavy on the spoilers, and there are quite a few differences between the episodes. Making this video has left me with one other thought. It really is a shame that we never got to see Ben in a teaching role. Well, that, and also the fact that none of my teachers were ever hotter than the ones these kids got.